Well, the question really is, whose side are you on? Are you on the side of average Americans out there, the middle class, the men and women that are trying to get a job, the men and women that are working, or are you on the side of Wall Street? You raised a very interesting point about loans. Let's put it this way. The American taxpayer gave to the banks some $400 billion to stabilize that financial industry, and it was necessary. No one's doubting the necessity of it. Every other industrialized country in the world also shored up their financial institutions, and it worked. We want that money back, but it's not coming back to the businesses that are in our communities. And then we look here. In 2009, the total lending by U.S. banks fell 7.4%, the steepest drop since the outset of World War II in 1942. At the same time, there were enormous profits, and we'll come to the profits of Wall Street. Most of that, or many of those profits, is a direct result of the money that the American people used to stabilize Wall Street. We want that back, and we want to make it very, very clear. We're on the side of the working men and women out there, the middle class, the small businesses, Main Street. That's where we stand. Interesting that when the bill came up, and you spoke to this a moment ago, our colleagues on the Republican side voted no. When it came time to rein in Wall Street, they voted no.
If the gentleman will yield, that certainly is my recollection as well, that there was virtually unanimous opposition to this new rules of the road, to the people who drove the economy into a ditch. But I will say this, that at least there was a vote, wasn't there? That the American people got a chance to see where each of their elected representatives stood on the question of new rules of the road for the financial industry. The gentleman from California has served in a lot of levels of public service. I believe he served in the California legislature, and he served a lot of other governing bodies. Is it correct that usually when you're trying to solve a problem, you put it up for a vote? Is that what usually happens?
The gentleman would yield. At least that's the American way. If you have an issue, a policy issue, you take it to the legislative body. It comes up for a vote.
Has the gentleman ever been in a situation where a body sees a serious problem and says, look, we have a plan to fix it, but let's not take a yes-no vote on it, because let's let a small number of people decide, because they have some interest that's persuading them not to support it, that we shouldn't even put it up for a vote. Is that the understanding the gentleman has of the way government works in this country?
Well, I've seen some of that here recently in Washington. Apparently, one person can stop legislation, and I think it's happened some 50 times in a certain legislative body that we're not supposed to.
If the gentleman would yield, it's ironic that this Congress funds what are called institutes for democracy that help to teach fledgling nations around the world how to build democratic institutions. And I'm glad we do. I think it's good for the country to do that. It's kind of ironic that in the context of doing that, we've had fiascos where on 2 occasions, one person has said that extending unemployment benefits to people in grave need can't even be voted on. And now we have a situation where a minority, one would theorize, is going to take a position that says we can't vote on this very important establishment of fair rules to protect the American consumer. I thank the gentleman for calling this to the body's attention, and I'm honored to serve in a body where we do take votes, and we do have majority rule, and we do get on with the business of the country.
It's been a great pleasure for me to serve in the House with you, Mr. Andrews, and also to be able to deal with these fundamental issues. We were just talking a moment ago about the lending to small businesses and the fact that the big U.S. banks have reduced it. But also, if we look at the 22 firms, Wall Street firms that got the most of the bailout, they've reduced their small business lending by some $12 billion in last year, in 2009. I've now been joined by our colleague from the great state of Vermont, Mr. Peter Welch. If you would, I yield to you.